Hello, everyone. My name is Vijaya Sunder. I'm a faculty member here at Indian School of Business in Hyderabad, India. Today, I'm going to talk about our recent article in Rotman Management Review, Innovating in the Digital Era. What can Goliaths learn from Davids? I'm presenting this on behalf of both me as well as my co-author Namrata. Namrata is a research assistant with me at Indian School of Business at Hyderabad. Firstly, I'm thankful to the editor of the Rotman Management Magazine and the entire team for accepting our article for publication in the magazine. David and Goliath. We all know this story. When Goliath was attacking the Israelites, the shepherd boy David countered. His stones and sling threw the giant to the ground all at once. This can be a good analogy to view the businesses in the today's digital era, where digital native firms compete with the established organizations through their innovative business models. Imagine Goliaths as the established firms, and on the other hand, digital native companies as Davids. Here, Goliaths could represent both the legacy firms as well as the digital incumbents, those firms which are well established in the past and then continue to exist today, and they have learned how to go ahead with their digital transformation journeys. All of these on one side, calling them as Goliaths, and on the other hand, we have Davids, which are born digital, the digital native organizations. So, digital natives are those companies which are founded in the digital era, armed with the capabilities that enable them to disrupt the traditional business models. Unlike the established legacy firms or the digital incumbent firms. Examples could include firms like Airbnb, Zoom, Netflix, or even Uber for that matter. All of these are some good examples of the companies that are born digital. I call them as digital native companies. Now, digital natives have scaled from $50 million in revenues to 1 billion in the last 4 to 8 years. And the question here, which is important for the large established organizations, is how can the erstwhile established companies compete with the digital natives? And finding answer for this question is practically relevant because today, as we can see in the contemporary digital era, all the established organizations which have been there in the market for quite some time, for past many years, are actually competing with the digital natives. And in many cases, the digital natives with their innovative business models are overpowering or becoming more competent than the established big giant organizations that has been there for quite some time. And this article actually tries to find answer for this question through a framework that we recommend. And that framework is dependent on two types of mindsets that organizations generally have. The first mindset that we introduce is called the innovation mindset. And as we all know, innovation can be seen in two parts. One is exploitation, and the other one is exploration. Now, on exploitation part, consider BlackBerry. Despite its success in the early 2000s, BlackBerry chose to refine its existing competencies and technologies without considering the customer preferences. Thus, it fell short to iOS and Android. On the other hand, if you consider the example of Macy's that practiced an explorative mindset, whereby they experimented with new alternatives without building on existing capabilities. At one time, Macy's enjoyed soaring scales across its channels, but recently reported a loss of about 3 billion in revenue in the last few years. So, on one hand, we have the exploitation, and on the other hand, we have exploration. And the two examples, like the BlackBerry and Macy's, which I gave you, really mastered these two different types of innovation mindsets. Yet, both BlackBerry and Macy's struggled to keep up the growing pace of innovation. Now, look at a contemporary organization, a digital native firm, on the other hand, Revolut. It launched at a time where the digital banks were not popular in the United Kingdom and managed to transform the dynamics of the market. And how did they do that? They kind of balanced their innovation mindsets between exploration and exploitation. They tried to find a balance between these two. On the exploitative mindset, the company invested in scaling its data science and engineering functions. It leveraged machine learning and other computational techniques to protect customers, make better behavioral predictions, and identify fraud patterns without human intervention. And on the explorative innovation front, it has pushed the boundaries, and even it is pushing today the boundaries of traditional banking by constantly introducing offerings like the crypto trading and fractional stock investing. And by doing so, it has opened up the new revenue streams by expanding beyond the United Kingdom. And Revolut added almost 10 million new customers in 2022, increasing its revenues by $1.1 billion, dollars, which is a 45% increase from 2021. And we call this balance between exploration and exploitation as innovation ambidexterity, that a digital native firm like Revolut and many others today are trying to exhibit. On the other hand, innovation alone may not be sufficient for organizations. We also need to execute whatever has been innovated. So, the second mindset that we present in the article is the execution mindset. And as we all know, that execution can happen either in a competitive setting or in a collaborative setting. So, under execution mindset, we present competition and collaboration. Take JCPenney as an example, an American retailer that entered the 21st century with stagnant and declining sales and tough competition from discount stores like Target and Walmart. JCPenney collaborated with Sephora in 2006, coining a store in store concept, which is quite interesting. And this led to the establishment of Sephora outlets in select JCPenney stores until 2020, when Sephora refused to extend its contract with the retailer. This came at a bad time given the company was on the road to bankruptcy. Now, look at the digital native counterpart that we are trying to kind of position as a coin to coin for the competitiveness, right? On the other hand, if you see Revolut, the digital native Revolut has linked with many other banks like Barclays, HSBC, Bank of Scotland, utilizing the bank's open banking APIs and enabling data sharing and transaction initiation with user content. And this collaboration alongside the competition has resulted money transfers with ease, which further increased the user experience for the company. Now, not only Revolut, but we have several other examples. For example, think of the first iPhone, where Apple and Google worked together seamlessly to launch it. Google Maps today, YouTube are still collaborated on the iPhones and iPads. Now, what we are talking about here is striking a balance between competition and collaboration. And examples like Apple, Google, or Revolut, which are all digital native organizations, which comfortably exhibit this capability, which we call as co-opetition. So, co-opetition is basically balancing the two execution mindsets, the competition and the collaboration. Now, by crisscrossing these two mindset that we spoke about, on one side we have the innovation mindset, which encompasses exploitation and exploration, and on the other axis we have the execution mindset, which has the competition and cooperation. Now, we can see clearly four quadrants emerging by cross fertilizing these two axes. And interestingly, if we examine all these established organizations in the past, which had varied and, in fact, many good competitiveness in the yesteryears, we can see these organizations comfortably fit into one of these four quadrants. For example, think of BlackBerry or JCPenney. It fits very well into exploitation competition quadrant. On the other hand, think of Macy's or Radisson Group. So Macy's being a digital incumbent, which learned about the digital transformation later, but Radisson Group is, I call them as a legacy incumbent, which is still trying to get into the digital bandwagon. Either Macy's or Radisson Group both fall under this quadrant of exploration and competition. Similarly, if you see Ford or Tesla, we can see them into the quadrant of cooperation and exploitation. And on the other hand, we have the General Motors or even Ford that does fall into the quadrant of exploration and cooperation. Now, whether these big established firms, whether they are falling into digital incumbent or a legacy incumbent, irrespective of that categorization, they comfortably fit into one of these four quadrants into our framework. Now, the question is, can they compete well in today's digital era where we have several Davids sitting in the center? The Davids that we establish here in the center of this framework are those digital native organizations, which mastered the capabilities of competition and innovation ambidexterity. So, as you can see, in balancing these mindsets is the true capability that organizations today require to learn from the digital native companies. If they want to compete with the digital native companies, it is important to balance these two capabilities of competition, which we define as striking a balance between cooperation and competition, and innovation ambidexterity, which is striking a balance between exploitation and exploration. And thereby, digital incumbents and legacy incumbents can adapt to the new ways of working, coming up with this balance in the mindsets. So, in this article, if I have to put them in a nutshell for some key managerial takeaways, the first step that the article prescribes is for leaders to examine which quadrant their organization currently falls into in our framework of David and Goliath. And secondly, managers need to navigate the paths to develop the two important capabilities that we proposed in this article, the competition and innovation ambidexterity. And therefore, identify which fits best for them within the space of this framework to navigate towards the center where they can strike the balance. Now, by examining their position and navigating across our industry and domain agnostic framework, digital and legacy incumbents alike can balance innovation and execution mindsets and thrive in the digital era. So, this article calls the managers to actually take our framework and use it to create the competitiveness within their organizations by learning from the digital native organizations, which we call them as the Davids.